everyone, it's Sherry Carroll here to show you a quick idea for using your stamps to get a layered stamped background. In this card example, I'll show you how to do resist stamping, a little watercoloring with your stamps, and just some basic stampings for a great background. To start off, I have a sheet of watercolor paper that I've white embossed my dictionary greening, a 3 by 4.5 inch block, water, and my old paper distress ink. Now I'll be using my acrylic block as a shadow block or a shadow stamp, and what I'm doing is just pressing my old paper ink onto the block. I have it like just in scattered areas. Next I'll squirt with water, and I want to get this quite wet so that the ink flows around on the block. So you can kind of tell by seeing if it'll move around, and this is just about perfect. So now I'll dry off my surface, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp this on to my already embossed piece of watercolor paper. One great thing about using the block as your shadow stamp is you can look through and see how the ink is sitting onto the paper. Like I have a marbled area in here, and that's just what I want. It's just perfect. So you want to give that a good press and kind of let it sit into the paper, and then go ahead and peel that off. Now you can just grab a towel and just blot up any of the excess that might have dripped over, and any areas that you think might be too dark, you can move them around with your finger or just blot them off to make them a little lighter. And here's a quick peek of how it looks up close. It's really nice and marbled and really watercolory. And now I'll just set that aside to dry. And now the next phase of my layered background is some basic stamping with some soft brown ink and my envelope pattern, which is a really fine line pattern. So just go ahead and ink up my stamp, just as you would normally. And now just go ahead and turn this over and stamp it onto the paper as you would typically. And I'm going to use a little bit of pressure since I have the embossed image in the background. So I want to really make sure I get into the little crevices. And here's a peek up close, and now that you can see it's starting to gain quite a bit of texture. And for the final phase, we get to start adding some color. So I'll just set my stamped piece aside. I have my leaf cluster cling stamps and 4 inks that I've chosen. So this is broken china, and I'm just going to wiggle it onto my craft sheet. And next I'm putting down rusty hinge and walnut stain and peeled paint, and maybe a little more walnut stain up at the top. Now you can put these down in whatever configuration you want. This is just what I happen to have done. So now I have my stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and place it down, and I call this walk and wiggle. So I'm just kind of walking it up and down and giving it a little wiggle. What this is doing is blending my colors together. So now I look at my stamp to make sure it's all covered, and I'll use my water bottle again and just go ahead and mist it with water until you can start to see it bubble up. And here's how that looks. And now I'll just stamp this on top of all these layers of stamping. We'll let this set into the paper and give it a good push. And this is when the magic happens. I absolutely love this technique. So go ahead and make sure that sets into the paper. The longer you keep it on, the more it'll soak into the paper. And here we go. We pop it off, and we have a really nice mix of colors for our stamp background. And here's my finished card with the background. I've trimmed it and mounted it onto another piece of white cardstock, added lace and a paper flower, and put it onto an eggshell note card. You can also use the walk and wiggle to create a really nice background for a great message like the card on the right. For this, I've used the delicate leaf clusters all individually with brighter colors, and I've just stamped them onto regular snow cardstock, and I've allowed them to dry, and then I stamp my message. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and please visit us at www.heroarts.com for more inspiration. Thanks for watching.